with our workshop. I thank you very much, all of you. I mean, the speakers and the participants. We are experiencing this new format, let's say, and it was very helpful to have this collection of questions in advance. And we try to think about if this format is also something we can keep for the future or improve in the future, but I'm confident it is working. So we have 3 speakers now. It is Lisa, Laurent, and Stefano. And I would like to start the workshop with a really short recap from each of them about their presentation. I would ask to keep it only 5 minutes, maybe without presentations, to just highlight a few points that in your presentation have been presented. And so I don't know. I will start with Lisa, if you're fine. No. Are you fine, Lisa?
Yes. Sometimes I lose I lose the connection, but I hope it's a temporary issue.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you want to start with this 5 minutes recap.
Yeah. Of course. First of all, let me introduce my colleague. It's a pleasure to have her with us today. Her name is Giulia Prampolini, and she works on a daily basis on EPC contracts. So she is very experienced on aspects, details, troubles occurring within such financial tools. So I'm happy to have her again with us today. In order to recap my presentation, let me just remind that we started the presentation in order to identify and explore the key elements enabling successful EPC schemes, which was actually the focus of our presentation. And we record the definition of an EPC, its main patterns, as well as the main.
Oh.
I think there is a problem with the connection.
Yes.
Lisa's connection.
Sorry.
You're back?
Yeah, we are back.
Let's give another try. Then if we have another issue, maybe we can let you speak later. Okay.
Yeah, I was saying that in order to identify and explore the key elements enabling successful EPC schemes, which was actually the focus of our presentation, we record the definition of an EPC, its main patterns, as well as the main phases of an EPC process. We came up with a definition of an EPC, which I like very much, and which is an EPC is a business model for achieving energy savings, where savings are invested for energy efficiency and CO2 emissions reduction. We also share that the main phases of an EPC process are basically 4. First, a preliminary audit, followed by second, a detailed analysis and feasibility studies. After that phase, normally the contract is signed. And then third, implementation of energy efficiency measures starts. Fourth, the last but not least important phase is the one connected with the yearly measurement and verification of the achieved savings. We saw how it is crucial to make a good building selection in the very beginning for a successful EPC. We also mentioned that there are, on the opposite, excluding factors for specific buildings to be taken into account when assessing the feasibility of an EPC. For example, we mentioned historical or seismic restrictions. We recalled also the relevance of the so-called experienced stepping approach aimed at bundling and aggregating municipalities and buildings in order to properly design EPC schemes in order for them to be attractive enough to the market. Another enabling factor that we highlighted is the one represented by the presence of what we call an experienced and reliable EPC facilitator, represented, for example, by an energy agency or from a regional authority or so on, assisting the public authorities throughout the whole process. And we also have seen how it is important and crucial to engage all the concerned parties in the EPC process as soon as possible. Last but not least, since we have remarked that actual results and savings within an EPC scheme must be in the end checked and validated, it is essential to plan beforehand a measurement and verification procedure to be carried out on a yearly basis in order again to verify and check if foreseen savings have been actually achieved or not. And this is, of course, extremely important because results in potential penalties or further specific effects also at contractual level. This is basically my recap over the presentation made and the video recording. So thanks, and available for questions, of course.
And you will have questions, Lisa, afterwards. So thanks for the cap. So one key role is the EPC facilitator, as mentioned. Laurent focused the presentation on this.
Yes.
So if you want just to briefly.
If I can share just my screen for you. Yes, the training session was about the energy performance contract facilitator. The first step of a training session was about what are we talking about, the role of the EPC facilitator to support municipalities in technical, financial, and contracting procedure. The second is the skills that need to be taken by the EPC facilitator, not only technical and financial, but also administrative, legal, and communicational expertise. What about the hosting structure? As Lisa said, it can be a regional energy agency or local authority. But the most important is to have legitimacy and competencies to do this job. And finally, the financial model, because it's quite complicated to be paid to do this EPC facilitator for EPC projects. Just to this short picture to show that on one side, you have the municipalities with their building stock and public service, and also they have to pay attention to the user comfort. On the other side, the ESCO has technical experience but wants profit. And the role of the EPC facilitator is to balance between the both and to help municipalities discuss with the ESCOs. The rest of the presentation of a training session was about the role of the detailed role of a EPC facilitator in each phase of a project, in each step, the preliminary studies, the detailed studies, and the contract and execution. Sorry, Lisa, I missed the measurement and verification step. Yes, and you have many details about what can do, what must do the EPC facilitator on each of these phases, depending of the size of a project, depending also on the competencies of the EPC facilitator. And I think that's all for today. You can find all details in the presentation.
Okay, very good, very good. And with the project, we developed this this tool, which is going to be improved and with additional functionalities, and also from a layout point of view, the APC simulation tool, which has been presented by Stefano, and maybe you can also update the partners on the improvement that this tool has received, and the steps.
Okay, thanks.
5 minutes, not more.
Yeah, 5 minutes. Yeah. I would like to share my screen only to share again the presentation. Okay, so as said before, on the APC facilitator service is we have to deliver some activity in order to help the public authority to define all the document before to launch the tender for ask the market and to find to the market the ESCO that can also implement the energy performance contract. So in this phase, it's necessary to define also some financial analysis, and through the stepping project, we decide to deliver a tool that can help the APC facilitator to understand and to find the balance between a private and public interest. And this tool is also can also help to define the APC condition, and that normally are 4 conditions that is necessary to include in the document tender. That are the duration of the contract, the minimum energy service requirement, the minimum economic saving required, and the minimum investment. So this tool can deliver different scenario with the different value of this 4 condition, and this tool at this time is only an Excel file, but during this project we want also to deliver an app tool that and upgrade the Excel tool that was delivered during the stepping project. And this time the tool, as I said before, is an Excel file where it's possible to input different data and using different worksheets that are data that come from the result of the energy audit in terms of energy saving, for example, or other data on the characteristics of the buildings, and but also other important data regarding the economic and financial issue, for example, inflation rate, loan subsidy, also profit, equity, taxes, etc. And at the end, the tool gives the possibility to say before to define different scenario with a specific worksheet where it's possible to play with different value and define different scenarios. And in this new version, it's possible also to have graph, table, charts that can also to give this scenario more understandable. And at the end, there is also a final worksheet where it's possible to have a view of the cash flow of the last scenario where they are input the data. So this.
Thank you very much, Stefano.
Okay.
Thank you for your brief recap of the presentation. So, if you agree, guys, I would like to start with the question. as this was the main intention of the workshop. And I will like to start with what has been collected on the basis of your input. Then I would invite any of you to jump in the discussion and be free to yeah, add few details also. I think we have quite a lot of questions, so I would ask speakers or whoever to be very concise, and maybe we can go back on the question if more details are needed. But I would like to cover most of the questions raised. I would like to start with Laurent. As we have a question about the cost of this facilitator service that you estimate in 1 or 2% of the budget in case of larger investment, or 5 to 10%. So the question is, can you tell us the budget you have in mind in order to quantify a bit more the facilitator budget? I mean, what is useful to think about as a starting budget, and then I would couple this question about the budget with the fact that it's not always given for granted that we start with the facilitation process and then we go successfully to the end. So there are several uncertainties in the process, and maybe the risk of failure is quite high. Yeah. I mean, municipality resign, or there are some, I don't know, constraints that we meet along the process since it is quite long. So how to deal with this risk, and any form of guarantees that based on the experiences that you know can be asked for to reduce the uncertainties.
Yes, thank you, Silvio. I can give you some examples that we have in France. We estimate you have you can see on my screen. You can see my screen or not? No?
Yeah.
Yes. It's okay. On my screen you can see a small table just to show you that the price of the cost of a facilitator is not proportional to the project budget. For small project, the cost is higher because you have many things to do, even if it's a small project. And if the project is bigger, then the cost is lower. In our estimation in France is for a very small project, it's between 6 and 12 kilo euros. And for big project, it's quite between 20 and 30 kilo euro for the facilitator. It's very complicated to make an estimation because it depends on the role you have in as an EPC facilitator. And sometimes in France, we only have an assistance on financial aspects, and then the cost is lower. Sometimes it's financial plus technical, and sometimes it's financial plus technical plus administrative. It depends also if the facilitation is on the whole project, from the preliminary studies to the measurement and verification phase, or if you stop, if you have only 1 or 2 steps. About the cases when the project stops before the end, then in France we have 2 cases. The first, the facilitator activities are paid within a national or European project, and then the rest is paid by the program. We have a PDA H2020 project, and we have also some national financing program for this. The second case is services, because we have some hosting structure like energy agencies that have set up some facilitator services for the municipalities, energy services to municipalities. It's not only EPC, it's also energy management or renewables and so on. And within this energy service to municipalities, there is a point on EPC facilitation. And then there is two options. The first one is a fixed price for the whole EPC assistance service. No, not EPC assistance service, but for the whole energy assistance service, around €1 per inhabitant. And within this €1 per inhabitant, you have everything: energy management, renewables, EPC support, and so on. The second option is to have a fixed price for the whole assistance service, including the first phase of a building selection, and not more, just the preliminary phase of the EPC. And even the municipality wants to have support for the rest of the project, then they have to pay a fixed price defined depending of the content of the project. You understand? It's clear for you? So it's the principle is to set up some services to municipalities, and the municipalities can take or not this service. But if they take the service, they pay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found these numbers very interesting. I don't know if Lisa or Stefano can you agree on this roughly? I mean, it's not a. Because what I see is that, for example, the first table you showed us, there could be a leverage factor of 1 to 100. I mean, which is much more than what the Commission is generally asking for PDA projects. I mean, if you say that €20,000 is enough to launch 2 million, it's if I'm not mistaken, it's 1 to 100, which is very good in terms of leverage. And on the other side, if I look at the service estimation you make, I mean, this if you are supporting I don't know 200,000 inhabitants,
yes,
it can be very costly.
Yes,
so I think we should.
Yes, it's for small municipalities, not for big ones.
Okay.
Yes, and about the leverage factor, you must have in mind that in France, the EPC facilitator don't make the detailed studies. The detailed studies are made by private support, and this private support is in addition to this.
Okay. Now it's much more clear. And
yes, at the end, you're right. The balance between the facilitator and the investment is 1 to 30 or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do you feel the need to add something, Elisa or Stefano, about this?
Yes, as us, we don't have very fixed tariffs, I would say. But for us, for example, the most important cost is the one concerning the energy audits of the technical assistance, including the EPC facilitation. And therefore, we have a tariff for this that is €2 per square meter for the concerned buildings. And then we don't have, as already said, a fixed tariff. It depends on the complexity and the number of buildings and the situation, the baseline situation, I would say. So it can vary a bit, but yeah, for us, the most important and relevant cost is the one concerning well-made energy audits.
And for you, the service is always including this part, which is
normally we do assist local authorities from the very beginning for the building selection, from the building selection to sometimes also measurement and verification procedures.
Okay, okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, also in my case, I'm completely agree with Lisa. So also in our experience, the part of this service that cover more time is the energy audit. So depending if this activity is included in the APC facilitator service, the price is more high that in other cases that there isn't this part of activity.
Okay, I don't know if anyone who pointed out this question will need more details. Otherwise, I would go on. Okay, but please feel free to jump in the discussion. Okay, so maybe for Stefano, we can speak about just some details about how the spreadsheet is working for grants. So there was a question about this, if there is a specific cell for grants, since I mean public funds available for supporting the investment cost, and then how to deal in the case where municipality is investing its own money in the APC, so reducing the equity need from the private investor. How to include it, I mean, in the spreadsheet? Is this something that we can consider as a grant? And so, or the spreadsheet allows to consider it differently?
Okay, for answer to this question, I would like to share the tool. Okay, so yeah, the answer is a yes. This tool consider these possibilities, and in the scenarios worksheet, there is 3 possibility to input 3 different grant. The first and the second are be considered like a subsidy, public subsidy that could come from a national government, region, or something other part. And there are these white cell where the user can input the amount of the subsidy, and then the user can also input the number of year where this subsidy is provided. For example, in this case, we consider that, for example, the government give €500,000 in 10 years. So for 50,000 euro for each year. And in the second is another subsidy of this amount of value in 5 years. Then we have also another cell in this last version of the tool, where it's possible to input another amount of money that could be provided directly by the owner of the building. So in this case, if we are simulate a scenario for a set of buildings owned by a municipality, this is the cell where it's possible to input this grant that come directly from the municipality in order to reduce the equity for the escrow. So the answer is yes. So
okay,
yeah,
I think it's clear. It was quite a technical question, so thanks a lot. If I come to Lisa, maybe a question is related to the bundling. It's always the same tricky question about merging and putting together different objects, whereas some of these are very profitable and some other are less. So if you can formulate a little bit more about the combination of buildings together. And then there was also a question which I found quite interesting about the possibility to not use only income coming from the savings, I mean, but some income coming from service that are delivered. I mean, the example was related to, for example, we have a swimming pool, and in this building, services are provided. I mean, for customers. And then if you have any example where in the APC it is also included in a way this income related to the service delivering, which goes in this overall cash flow or sustainability of the investments. I think it's quite a complicated question, and but I don't know if you can say something about this.
Okay, try to be as short as possible. But concerning the not real sustainability, financial sustainability of an EPC, I would say that as general assumption, taking into account the EPC mechanism, if the energy retrofit measures to be implemented are not paid back through the achievable savings, then this is a trouble. It's a problem, definitely, because ESCOs are not, as you well know, non-profit organizations. So, said that, however, we have seen that we can try to make the EPC contract as much attractive as possible to the market, also including not the best buildings or the best candidates as building, also including, for example, buildings which need energy retrofit, but which do have low energy consumption. And we found out that this can occur working on different levels. First of all, on the EPC approach and design, again, try to implement what we have called the stepping approach, pooling buildings with high energy savings potential with some other buildings needing also retrofit, but with lower return of investments, for example, can be a way, because this makes, again, the EPC proposal interesting and attractive to the market if it is still sustainable. We can work on the investment plan level in order to make it more attractive again by including blending, the famous blending funds, integrating the ESCO capital planned to be needed for investments on energy efficiency measures with the public grants, structural EU funds, national or regional incentives, especially on the most critical buildings, the ones with lower energy saving potential. And this way, reducing again the amount of investment and capital expected to be covered entirely by the ESCOs. We always try to be careful also in creating and generating a good balance on issues that the ESCOs pay special attention to, such as, for example, maintenance and contract duration. We try to avoid to design EPC schemes having, for example, 20 years duration, because this is not an issue and an aspect that ESCOs like very much, at least in our regional market, national, I would say. A further aspect and tip, I would say, in not very mature ESCOs market, is to try to include also in the energy service, at least in our experience, also the energy supply. This way, the ESCOs is ensure that also for some critical buildings, with low energy saving potentials, investment will be in a way paid back through the energy supplied and sold to the local authority. Last but not least, in our experience, for some ESCOs, it is strategic to approach new territories, I would say. And therefore, they are in some cases available to implement also not very much profitable measures, but they do that in any case with the aim to get visibility from public authorities in the concerned territories, and can therefore invest some time and to a certain extent also on not fully paid back projects, I would say, that are not so profitable, because this issue of marketing and approach new territories and find and be engaged in new market areas could be strategic for their marketing issues and interests. There was the other question concerning the example of the swimming pool in order to try to balance the importance of the investment and to balance them with the further, I would say, external income. And yeah, our answer is that in our experience, but I'm curious about answers also by Stefano and Silvio or Loran itself, but in our experience, if we mean that the awarded ESCO can get profits from the management of the swimming pool service to users, this is not possible in our point of view. At least in our experience, we tried in the past to not mix those two different tender objects, because it is rather risky then to mix such different, totally different services and objects. And therefore our approach was to keep the two services separate and divided into different calls. On the other hand, and I've already mentioned this, in order again to balance the important effort the ESCO makes in terms of investments, what it is completely possible to do, and this is our experience, daily experience, we normally include the energy supply into the energy performance contract, but because this way, in a way, the investments made and the efforts made are balanced by the energy sold. And therefore, this is completely possible, affordable. I know that also in Italy, there are different approaches on this choice, but this can also make and contribute to make the investment plan more sustainable from a financial point of view.
Thank you, Lisa. I think Remy would like to jump in with in the discussion. I can say that maybe this combination with additional income, also for me it is tricky, but the point is that at the end maybe the APC is a minor part, or maybe it's more relevant, the income coming from the selling of the services than energy. So maybe energy could be a part of a contract that is set for the selling of the services. But okay, I think we need to have a look at the data in order to say if my comments is fine. Okay, maybe Loran also want to formulate, but I would give the floor to Remy.
Yes, just I don't have any example in mind about buildings, but we have an example of an EPC on street light, and ESCO has provided services, Wi-Fi services all around the town, within the streetlights. And then the benefit of these new services are reducing the EPC cost by 15%. And so it can be a solution. I don't have any example of buildings doing that, but
yeah, I think the tricky part is if these additional services are ancillary service or are the main object of the contract.
Oh yes, yes.
If it is a matter of 15-20%, I think we can try to find a way to combine together. Otherwise, I think it's more a service contract where energy comes in a way that we need to understand how to. Remy.
Thank you, Silvio. Just it's a question for Lisa, well, and for all, because we have had we have problems when we have fundings inside the to enter inside a tendering process, because what I've checked in Stefano Excel sheet, it's that, for example, 500,000 euros of funding are split in 5 years. But usually when we have a funding, at least in our case, it has to be justified the first year or the second year. Then how do you manage in the main service contract that usually is splits usually by monthly delivers of incomes to paying the service by monthly delivers? How do you manage a funding income the first year, for example? How do you text in the tendering process that the first year the bill will be reduced, and then the thing is going to be economically simulated afterwards? I'm not sure if I've made me understand with this, but
Who wants to reply?
Stefano, no?
Yeah, I can reply. Yeah, but in Italy, this isn't a problem because we have a subsidy, kind of subsidy, where the ESCO can have directly the subsidy by the government. In this case, in 5 years, but could be the same if in only one year. So it's the subsidy comes directly from the government to the ESCO without the
yeah. And in this way, I mean, so you build the cash flow given the duration of the contract, and the fee is fixed. I mean, or it doesn't change just because you receive the grant in the first year and then or in 5 years. I mean, this is part of the overall budget of the project, and you make an assessment of the overall feasibility, sustainability, I mean, from financial point of view. And then the fee is not changing on the basis of when grants are coming.
I see your point. What we have different is that the funding is not received by the ESCO, it's received by the public administration that has to deal with the contract. And then for us, it's difficult because by law, we cannot split this is a category of funding that it's investment and it's not service. And in this case, we have always the problem of when we have to make the investment, we say this part of the investment is paid by the subsidy, and the rest, if it's possible to split by 2 parts, for example, 2 phases, phase 1, phase 2 of the project. But if not, we have really complex complex situation for that. I'm not sure if it happens to other.
I think we have the same in France, and then as Stefano explained, in the new Excel sheet, you can put the additional resources by the building owner. I can share my screen to show you. Is it okay? It's the Excel sheet or not?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I could share my screen. Okay.
Yes, here it's the same example as Stefano shows us. And in the scenario, you can decide to have some subsidy. You can put it on 10 years, but you can also put it on 1 year here. If you put it on 1 year in the cash flow, you can see the subsidy is only the year one, or not the other year. On the other solution, when the municipality becomes the subsidy directly, then you can put it here as a revenue, the building owner, or not as a revenue for the ESCO. And then if you put it here, it's decreased from the equity of the ESCO. It's okay, Stefano also?
Yeah, it's okay. So in a cell, in a way cell of the subsidy 1 or 2, you have to input data regarding the subsidy that they give directly to the ESCO. And in the cell where there is now 500,000 euros, is the subsidy that could that obtain, for example, the municipality, and then the municipality give to the ESCO in a second time. And in this case, in the cash flow, it's in the first year.
But if you have a specific case, you can send us the simulation Excel tool, and we can arrange 1 hour discussion to help you make your simulation.
Okay, thank you, Lauren.
If I may add shortly, I don't know if I got the answer well and the question very well, but if this can help. Also, in our situation, sometimes the public authorities get the national incentive, for example, for the building retrofit, and then the public authority delivers this incentive to the ESCO only, in our case, it's a choice, only after the works are finalized, the energy efficiency measures are implemented. Okay. I don't know if this meets your doubts question, but anyhow, available again if you have specific situation to be shared.
And I think, given the fact that we have more than half an hour, I think we will not cover all the questions, but maybe we can work a little bit on that afterwards and deliver this as a follow-out of the workshop. I just want to point out one thing that was said by Lisa about the contract, the duration of the contract. She said we don't like to have this 20-year contract, which is, I think, very reasonable. Also, because if you have very long contracts, then you have to take into account that most of the plants should be renovated again during the contract life. So this is something that you have to take into account in the cash flow and the planning.
And also everything will change in 20 years. The energy price, the people will change in the ESCO and also in the municipality side. Yeah. And then after 10 years, nobody remember the contract.
Well, okay, but a contract is a contract. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, so let's try to go to another point. And Laurent, for example, a more or less easy question is about the duration of this facilitator service when grouping small project from the initial stage to the tendering process. Can you make an estimation of how long does it take?
The answer is not precise, but it's long. We estimate that we need 3 to 6 months to have energy audits. It depends on the number of buildings and the number of municipalities, but 3 to 6 months to make the audits, and then 6 to 12 months to choose the scenario from the building owner side. because they have to decide which scenario they want to have at the end, and then you have again 3 to 6 months to realize the grouping, because it's very complicated to have this discussion between municipalities and so on. So for me, 1 year is very short, and 2 years is the average value.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And other point of view, I think we, Lita or Stefano?
Yeah, so for our experience, probably it's possible to realize all of this activity in less of 1 year, but depending to the motivation of the municipality, and if all the part of the municipality, not only the technical part, but also the administrative and the politician agree with this activity, with the EPC, to implement EPC. So if all the part agree in all the part of the activity, probably it's possible to implement and the energy performance contract in less of 1 year.
Mm-hmm. Then I think it's also a matter of upscaling or replication. When we did the first project, it took quite a lot, also in setting up and defining the tendering documents. This was really long-lasting procedure internally, because it was new, and we had to define the contracts and blah, blah, blah. But then, for example, if you replicate this, for example, this phase can be really reduced because you have a successful experience. And so all the human factors remains there. I mean, to discuss with people, convince, to bring them together, and blah, blah, blah. But what is technical and maybe what is mostly what is administrative can be reduced if you replicate this. I mean, copy and paste most of the parts and just discuss on details. Do you want to?
Yeah,
Lisa?
just few words. We are now set on an average period of 1 year and a half, in order from the very beginning to the launch of the call, and 3-6 months, more or less the same as in France for the energy audits. Then we do have at least 4 months for the investment plan preparation, and then further 3 to 6 months for the tender preparation itself. This greatly varies, I would say, because it depends on the public authority procedures and attitudes and the capacity of the administrative office, tender office itself. But yeah, on average, it is more or less 1 year and a half.
Okay, thank you very much. Then there is a nice question from Renee in the chat, but I will take it later if I can. Yeah, because I think this is really a point. I was reflecting about this, the influence of COVID also in energy consumption. Besides, I mean APC, I think in school and the office, we'll see in the winter time. In Torino, it can be quite cold, but for sure we have the attitude now, the behavior to keep it open, the windows, and turning on the heating, which is not very rational, I would say, if you don't have a really proof of ventilation. But I think in school they are doing the same. I mean, window open and heating on. and we'll see what happens in the numbers. But okay, let's go to a question about which came more than once. I mean, about inflation rate, change of energy prices during the contract. And so on. So I mean, exogenous variables, which depends on external factors that may, let's say, change a lot the feasibility from financial point of view of the contract. This question can be, I would say, replied, if I may, starting from Stefano, but also asking Lisa and Laurent how to deal with the external variables. We know, for example, now that the energy prices are increasing very much. How to deal with it? So Stefano, you are muted if you want to speak.
Okay. So for I answer this question with the tool, and in the tool it's possible to implement inflation rate for each energy carrier. So for the user, it's possible to try to define what will happen in the future, but of course it's not easy, because mainly when we deliver a simulation with the duration of the contract very high, so it's not so easy to define what will happen in the future, but and every hypothesis contain a margin of error, but the tool give this possibility to input the data for each energy carrier and input the inflation rate. And also there are other cells where it's possible to input other inflation rate general, and so this tool is quite useful for this.
I mean, then in order to make the calculation of the monthly fee that the customer have to pay to the ESCO, I think that also we keep this out. I mean, if the energy prices are going up and down, maybe there is a way to reduce or increase the fee based if you include the supply inside.
Yeah, of course. Is the tool considered also this case?
So I mean, you can make a calculation of the fee taking outside. I mean, the volatility of the energy prices. So the fee can increase or be reduced if according to what happens to energy prices. Maybe you can also decide there is a range in which this doesn't influence the calculation of the fee, but you cannot, I think, put all this risk on the shoulder of the ESCO. I mean, Can anyone add something? I was stopping Stefano. I don't know. I'm sorry.
No. Only to add something to what you said. So that in the tool there is this possibility to simulate how the fee can change during the contract. Input the inflation rate specific for the fee, and then the tool deliver the feasibility of all the operation, consider the inflation rate that the user input for each energy carrier. So this can understand if the fee is correct in case of the energy cost increase during the contract.
Laurent, do you want to add something? Yeah.
if there is a need, we can also share the formulas that we have some examples of formulas we have in contracts.
Yeah, this could be useful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also for us.
Yeah, I was about to ask the same. If the tendering process has the contract has formulas to take into account that.
Yes, and we can share different examples of formulas, and then you can see how each one manage this. It's not the same. For example, in France, each contract is different.
Yeah,
okay.
Let's share the formulas. I would just add that in our experience, we always made adjustments, and we will make it throughout the tender phase from the very beginning. And as Silvio and Stefano well know, in Italy, the reference is made to a starting average baseline energy price, in Italy called greater protection price, something like that, or a reference is made to further officially known state national references. If the energy price varies, then the energy carrier price is amended and adjusted accordingly. In our contracts, the energy price decrease or increase is meant and intended as due to force majeure, and therefore it is the public authority who pays for this or who benefits in case of decrease, of course, of the energy price. But it is interesting, I think, to explore further experiences with such kind of ranges that Silvio mentioned earlier. In terms of investments, on the opposite, in our experience, investments are set, are not depending on inflation rates or further factors, and cannot be changed, and therefore no adjustment is foreseen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, true. Very good. And Lisa, if I can stay with you, just about this specific question related to not only guaranteed savings in terms of energy, but also in terms of CO2 savings. Do you have any experience in this, keeping KPI of CO2 emissions in APC, or are you aware of anything?
Yeah, no, we are aware of the importance of monitoring and reporting to public authorities this indicator of CO2 emission reduction, but we do not have experience to CO2 savings reported in the contracts themselves, because mainly it is not possible to measure directly CO2 emission reduction. But of course, indirectly, it is possible, because primary energy savings can be associated to conversion factors linked with the energy carriers. And therefore, we can have an accurate estimation of the CO2 savings in the end. And yeah, just to add that we always stress with the public authorities the importance of communicating this indicator and this and this relevant measure also to the citizens, to the city engaged, because this figure especially talks about the transition process, the energy and ecological transition process that the public authority has made a decision to lead. So it is important to have it, but we don't have experiences about CO2 savings as main indicator of performance within the contracts. But
so it is just a consequence, something.
Yeah, it is indirectly
for communication.
Yeah,
or for,
it is indirectly calculated, but how concretely measure? We can measure energy savings, but we cannot measure directly the CO2 savings.
I think this is also more important if you want to point out focus more on renewables, for example. For example, the use of biomass without energy efficiency can be very efficient for CO2 emissions, but at the end.
But in the end, you do have convention factors. If you have your energy savings certified and validated, then you are.
No, but I mean, if you set an APC based on CO2 emission, this could lead to no energy efficiency, but introduction of renewables. This could be effective. I mean, maybe it's not the point you want to raise, or if you want to push renewables for whatever reason, this could be a solution. Laurent?
Yes, we in France we just combine the both. Kilowatt-hour reduction and on CO2 reduction to force ESCOs to promote renewables. But we have both and not only CO2.
Okay. My proposal is to spend the last 50 minutes on a very crucial for me topic, which is the negotiation and topic and the discussion dialogue with ESCO. So I would point this question to Laurent. Well, it's not me, but it has been pointed out by participants, by the consortium. So how do you manage this negotiation phase with ESCO? Maybe a starting point is if this belongs to a specific procedure, or it's more something you do informally, exploring the market and discussing in workshop without any, without entering into details of the procedure, or if it is part of the procedure as a competitive dialogue. So if you can start discussing a little bit on this, or providing some input.
Yes, I will share my screen again. Then there's two things. The first thing is the procedure, competitive dialogue. For us in France, we have a first pre-selection of 3 ESCOs or enterprises on the technical and financial capacity to give an offer. And then we select the 3 one that will be in the negotiation phase. Second, we have a competitive dialogue with these 3. And the only thing is we can't give any information from one to another. In average, we have 2 rounds of dialogue, but we know that these 2 rounds are complicated, because it's very complicated for us to evaluate the offers. Then 2 rounds of offers means with 3 competitors means 6 solutions, 6 offers to evaluate, and it needs many work. Then we make now preliminary design before the tender, and this preliminary design is to offer the candidates information on a possible solution. It's not the only one, but it's one solution. And then it's a way to simplify the estimation, the evaluation of a proposal, of the offers of candidates. On the other side, we have reduced many competitive dialogue to one round and not 2, with a discussion in the middle. So we just want in the middle not to have an offer, but to see if the proposition, if yes, if the ESCOs are working in the right way, but they don't have to give us in the middle a real offer, just to explain us where they are, where they go. And the only offer is the last round at the end. I don't know if it's clear for you, but it's a way to simplify the competitive dialogue procedure. About the discussion with ESCOs, we don't. It's very specific in France because the investment is not on the shoulders of ESCOs, but on the shoulders of the municipalities. And then the discussions are not the same. We will explain you that in the next training session about enterprises. But I don't think it's the same situation as in the other countries. The negotiation is mostly about the business for years for the ESCOs. For example, if you have a project in a small town and the ESCOs is not has not some people, some employees in this town, he says, I can't put half an employee or 1/3 of an employee in this town if I don't have any business, any market. So we have to find for him some other business in this town to give him some vision, yes, about how can the ESCO have one employee in this town, for example. One other example of negotiation with ESCOs, for example, in one case, instead of just changing a gas boiler, the ESCO proposed to change also the cooling production and to combine the both with a single heat pump. And then he proposed to have a cost saving of 300 €. And so it was one type of negotiation we have with an ESCO. What the last examples I wanted to give you is in some cases we have small penalties in the first year just to let the enterprise or the ESCO to some time to be ready. And only after the second year 100% penalties, but we set 200% penalties after the third year. So it's progressive penalties.
And these are shares percentage for what? 50% of what?
Of the penalties.
So given the penalty, you apply the 50% of it. Okay.
If the consumption is higher than the expected one, then only 50% is on the shoulders of ESCO and 50% of municipalities for the first year. And after the second year, it's all on the shoulder of ESCO, and after the third year, more than 100%.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Laurent, for these examples also. I would say that the competitive dialogue is not really very applied, at least in our case in Italy. We try to avoid this procedure because, you know, we have always these doubts of regarding transparency and what you from the public sector. We have a lot of concerns, even though we are well known in worldwide because of these issues, but the procedure are very strict for this. I don't know, Remei, in Spanish, in Spain, do you apply competitive dialogue as a standard procedure?
No, we have not take it into account, just for the same that it seems, well, not just because of the transparency, but also because of the complexity. But well, I was listening deeply, Lauren experience, and maybe we could think about it, because it's a way of not in order to avoid extra work by making all the work until up until the end. It's a way of just starting the procedure with a preliminary stage of it, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, it's a way to anticipate potential problems in the future, even though it's not really.
The first time it's always complicated, but when you have experience, if you would, that's why it's interesting to have a facilitator, because it's only one shot, but you have many projects in to do in the future. So the first time it's complicated, the second time a little bit less, and after 10 times it's very easy, because on the other side, the ESCOs and the enterprises are also getting experience. And then at the end, on the small region, you have always the same people.
Okay, so I would like to go deeper on it, but I think the time is really running. My proposal would be, if Lisa, Laurent, Stefano agree on that maybe we can elaborate a little bit the questions in writing, starting from what we said today, but maybe we can add details afterwards. So this can be, maybe we can also think about something to be done for communication dissemination purposes. I mean, this could be also some kind of Q&A, I don't know, that we can deliver at the end of the project, or I don't know, this is something that maybe we can take into account. I think it was very interesting, this discussion. Well, at least I found it very useful. I would like to really to have one word from each of the partner. I mean, takeaway of this, and also maybe if you can just provide a tip or how to manage the next workshop, if this is fine for you, or we can improve something. I don't know, Bojan or Jasmine or Rejan, Siva, Remey, whoever.
Okay, I will start. Thank you, Silvio. I would first of all thank you for the sharing the experience and the knowledge with us. And from my point of view, I can say that this is a good approach, because we can look to the presentation on video, and we have time for some reflection of this topic what was presented on video, and time to give some additional question and to send this question to you. So I can propose to implement the next workshops in the same way.
Thank you.
Yes, if I may, I agree with my colleague from Slovenia. I think it's a good approach. I think I got quite a lot of information, although every aspect has so many layers and so many specific examples that it is really hard to kind of comprehend all of it in specific situations. So I think that once we will get even a little bit more knowledge and start working on action plans, I think the questions will arise again, and then at that time we will be able to ask some more questions. So yeah, thank you. I think that approach is good.
Yes, it's a kind of sedimentation of knowledge by knowledge, and then it opens up new doubts sometimes instead of clarifying. But to have doubts, it's a way, it's the street for awareness, I would say. Rejan, do you want to comment? If you unmute yourself, you can. No, it's not possible. Anyway. Maybe we can. Is it working?
I can try
this
way.
There is a bit of echo, but maybe because you have the smartphone also. Okay, fine.
Oh,
She's frozen. Unfortunately, Rejan is frozen. Not in her best pose, but she's very nice. Okay, I don't know, it's just me, or do you want to comment?
I would add the same. For me, as Bojan and Ziva said, it's a good approach. You make us work before, but I think it's more useful, and we take more profit of the workshop afterwards. So for me, I would repeat in the same formula. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So Rejan is with us back. Welcome.
no.
Your last chance to speak, Rejan. No way. Okay, and Lisa, as a work package leader, so I think this worked well, or at least in line with the expectation. It was
absolutely. I'm just wondering if it makes sense for the next two workshops to plan for more room in terms of time for this live session. So instead of 1 hour, maybe 2 hours, especially for a rising question on real time, and not only those coming in advance. So let's reflect, but I would say that I'm completely available, and maybe it makes sense to plan a 2 hour slot for the question and answer session. But yeah,
very good.
That's all.
And I also received a message from, we received a message from Luca. Welcome. And I don't know if you want to speak, you're welcome, but I don't know if you had some issues. In any case, it's we received your comment. Thank you very much. And also Rishan. Thanks for writing in the chat. So we remain that we will formulate additional answers in the documents, and then we can reflect what to do out of that. Maybe we can have also other let's say sessions for open questions. I think we can think about something more if there is the need. Tomorrow we are going to have the meeting, and we will have the project officer with us. So yes, I think we just need to demonstrate that we are proceeding as planned in the project. I don't know how far it is known by each of you, but the MED program is experimenting a new way of reporting from technical point of view. So from financial point of view, we will get some information directly from them, and also the administrative procedures on synergies and on synergy platform, blah blah blah. But from technical point of view, how they want to manage this is with a meeting. So meeting partners and discussing about the project instead of writing reports, which is super fine for me. And I think if we are lucky enough and good enough, I think the tomorrow meeting will be used for this purpose. So I invite all of you to say what report what each of us did at regional level, even though in some cases the work done is not that much because we were waiting for the training and we were just in a preliminary phase for preparing the action to follow. But this is as the project was planned, so no problem about that. That's it from my side.
Okay.
thank you very much for being here, and thank you a lot. See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Tomorrow.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.